So I'm going to try to paint a picture. Well, network. Co-starring videos, Pretty Girls Out of 19. Ritual with Iraqi Baromil. One of the Abenakis. And Ribada. Who is Ribada? Ribada, 3,400 years ago, was king of Byblos from the times of Akhenaton. Alright, that's who Ribada is. Whatever they did with the Hyksos tribe in ancient Egypt, to the identity of Egypt, Akhenaton was looked at as an Amalekite, a foreigner. The Hyksos tribe, Luciferian Athenists, they had themselves, they were darker, is the understanding, but they were not African, okay? Akhenaton himself probably had dealings with Atlanteans, people from the northwest, okay? Kings from the ancient Middle East that are basically Iberian, Hyperborean, Hebraic for the northwest, alright? A lot of kings from the Middle East have had Spanish genetics, okay? But they ended up dealing with a little bit of Arabian, Italian, whatever it is. So the identity of who Ribada is the identity of Akhenaton and the identity of ancient Egypt. They had a negative impact on the identity of Egypt as a whole. This Hyksos tribe, these people. After Akhenaton left the throne, he was thwarted or removed from power, or however it happened. Who followed? Okay, a dude named Ramses. Short period of time after Akhenaton ruled Egypt, Ramses ruled Egypt. Alright? So who is Ribada? The identity of Ribada is so important. Alright? Yeah. And then we have the ritual that happened in this timeline. Okay, with Ribada. Right? Skipping the entire ritual, fast forwarding to the Nola. Alright? So it starts with, I'm gonna paint the picture pretty briefly. There was a whole ritual. Then there's me trying to go back drive a truck. And then when I finally get back drive a truck, it was about Nola. And then it was about Philippines. So the New Orleans, Philippines. And then around the time, Philadelphia, Queens, Philadelphia, Philistines. Around that time where I got another trucking job after Super Ego out of Chicago, Canamex out of Memphis, Tennessee. So the Super Ego Trucking Company. Yeah. The conspiracy involving the Super Ego Trucking Company has to do with their involvement with Nola and Hadda'S from Reno. This guy, right? That guy, Hadda'S from Reno, Ribada. So the concept of it started with Nola, right? But then it turned into realizing there's Nola in Naples, Italy. Then we realized there's the first whole part of the ritual leads up to it does in New York and California. There's a huge ritual before Nola, okay? The Nola thing is recent. What happened is we realized after the fact that it has to do with Fresno. The Fresno and LA in California creates another Nola, okay? Part of the ritual, big part of the ritual. We're not sure what it's doing, okay? The Abenakis. We're not sure what it's trying to do with the Fresno, but we do know Loyola. Okay. We know that much. Well, it was something about Frankie Cola and Coca-Cola and Grab Rob Knowles, then it turned to Fresno. And huge ritual has to do with Scale Shaitan that's attacking America from Russia. Scale Shaitan sounds like school suing. Los Angeles Rams, Fresno. It's controlling the names of the places in California. The identity of Ribada, part of this ritual with the Nola. Is Ribada's identity just as important as the whole identity of the state of California? What if Ribada's identity and California's identity, that was my $36,000 truck driving career that went for Fresno? What is that Fresno? All these different explanations. Has to do with the concept of the worst things that could possibly happen. That's how the Knox do things, and then all the different types of things instead. People go out to eat instead, people ingest digital media instead, people attend schools instead. It's hard to explain that this second, how Knox do things, and worst things that could possibly happen, and people go out to eat instead is like a huge theme, okay? Fresno. So Los Angeles Rams. So the identity, this is what it did, because with Nola, then led up to Fresno. Ribada's identity and the state of California's identity has to do with the Fresno. What if that was something happened where that was my $36,000 truck driving career? That was my $36,000. That was my 18 grand. That was my ability to make another 18 grand. The Mohawk Now, a ritual, New York, California, made it so I couldn't use the $36,000. I couldn't do anything. If I make 18 grand driving truck, I can go work on being an author, animator, musician, comedian, personal trainer, artist of various sorts. I couldn't make it personal myself who I am. It's usually my identity, and it's like my identity is just so profound, it could actually control something in the whole state of California. So Rams, Los Angeles Rams, Fresno, LA, and then we were dealing with the NFL, that my truck driving career is just as important as some of these people's NFL careers at this point. My trucking career was a huge glitch. I have not been able to present a racket barrel meal Falta ritual, the words out. But what I can tell you is that it took me 8 years. My trucking career is a huge glitch. Mohawk Network, I went back to work, couldn't continue to work, couldn't go back to work, tried to go back to work, didn't get paid to work. The Mohawk Network ritual where I drove a truck and back drive a truck is a huge glitch. Okay? What the Knox can do, because they can't be individuals in the Matrix world. And then what the Knox can do, because they can't be me just to drive a truck. It's a very complex, very detailed, elaborate ritual, alright? But my identity, I couldn't make it personal myself, alright? It took me years of dishwashing to finally get back drive a truck for Nola. Then we realized Fresno. It was already there though, that Fresno. So it has to do with this, because Los Angeles Rams, because I finally go back drive the truck after the first huge ritual, which is I'm not explaining right now, with Super Ego out of Chicago. Now the huge situation right now with Super Ego in Chicago, the Russian truck company, and Navigation Global, don't forget them. All over the news, all over social media, the trucking company, Super Ego. Okay? Super Ego is being talked about negatively all across social media, saying that they are doing things that are illegal because of matter driving the truck. They didn't really pay me right, but sometimes that we were doing Nola, we were doing Grab Rob Knowles, but a few Russian truck companies did not pay me right, okay? So all over the news, all over the social media, people are talking about superego. What they don't know is superego was involved with Nola. Alright? The main trucking company that's dealing with something from Serbia that were involved with Nola, with Hadda'S, with Hadda'S from Reno kill, with this guy kill. Right? What the hell is superego involved with this guy for kill? And Nola. Alright, there's more to it. Alright, there's a superego conspiracy that has to do with their involvement with Nola. Alright? A lot more than just these. They have a problem with truckers saying they weren't being paid right, or they have a problem with their lease to purchase program, or whatever, wherever they're being accused of, all over social media. There's more to it. Alright? So lost the thing about this. So I finally get back drive truck out of Florida because I needed my grandparents' address in Florida to get the CDL license. It took me years of restaurant work. The first time I drove the truck was a glitch. Huge ritual. Like I said, Nola is recent. Out of Florida, I go back drive truck. Out of first superego out of Chicago. I do that for 3 months, 4 months. I'm just doing so. It's called the grab rob Knowles, a whole other level and layer of the ritual. And then I go work for another trucking company called Akhenaton Carba, and that's why you see this weird shit all over my social media accounts with Indians, insects, the katydids, the ritual with Amanda's birthday party, call Meg, the Indian medicine. She legit will lose her shit. All that stuff. And then I actually visited India. There's a lot of explanations why, because my truck career was a glitch. I couldn't use the money I made. Indians driving truck, they could use the money they made. I couldn't go back drive truck. Indians all across America, they could go back drive truck. All they want, make all the money they want. So there's a situation where then I turned into that. What's that about? I did grab Rob Knowles for Indian Trunk Company out of Toronto, and then turned into me actually going to India. Okay. Lot of explanations of why. Because there's one Hadda'S, there's a million Indians. Like, how these people can make money driving a truck in America, no problem. My trucking career, big glitch. So I actually visited India, like I recently, and I did there's an Ethiopian part of the ritual. Ignore it all. Right now, I'm trying to explain something that's huge. Okay, for the people that already left. You missed something, okay? Los Angeles Rams, Fresno, the identity of California, the identity of me. I had to be a homeless person for years to finally get back driving a truck for Nola. My truck career, the first time was a glitch. It was my $36,000 trucking career, huge glitch. Couldn't do anything with the money I made. It took me years of dishwashing to finally get back drive the truck for Nola, and then think about Fresno, Los Angeles Rams, my Hadda'S identity, Hadda'S from Reno's identity, my identity. Ancient Egypt identity, Ramses, helping Egypt, bringing Egypt back to its original identity after whatever happened with the Hyksos reign, the foreigners that ruled Egypt. Los Angeles Rams, Ramses, Fresno. No, it has to do with my identity and California's identity running into each other like rams. Okay? And then, after Nola, I get a job out of Memphis, Tennessee for Akhenaton Carba to deal with that whole Indian situation. Memphis, Egypt. Alright? Last little tidbits of the ritual. Alright? Understand the concept that my identity and California's identity are in conflict. I just did dishwashing jobs my entire 20s. You don't think with 18 grand, 36 grand, I could have easily made driving a truck? That all these Indians made driving a truck pretty easily in America, right? Yeah. I would have became a famous author, animated musician, worth 10,000 high school teachers pretty easily by now, right? That's the problem. It's a scaled shaitan ritual. It's a ritual that the scaled shaitan talking from Russia is doing. That's why I do all these Russian trunk companies. Even before all this, I was dealing with a Russian trunk company. Saying that I'm worth 10,000 high school teachers just driving a truck. So I might as well just be driving truck for a scaled shaitan, tagging him from Russia. Scaled shaitan sound like school suing. Alright? It's a scaled shaitan. It's attacking him from Russia. That's a huge theme in the ritual. Where I'm just driving truck, going back, drive truck to pay for the school suing. Okay? Pay for ill bill, come shoot the zoo up. Very elaborate ritual. The first parts of the ritual, I can't present it. I finally got a trucking job where I can make money driving the truck. Right? It took me 8 years to make money driving the truck that I could actually use. It's incredible. Yeah. So the last tidbits of that ritual there, and then I led up to Memphis, as in Memphis, Egypt, literally. Understand the concept. Big. Yeah. And then it did something that led up to Typhoon Kalmegi in the Philippines. And then I got another trucking job out of Philadelphia. And 2 days in, it had to do with Bondi Beach in Australia. Then there was Australia part of the ritual. When Fiddy was there, and then Rick, and then we did a sushi ritual with Mexico. There's so many other. There's just layers of ritual through sweeping the nation back and forth, because I drove truck and back drive truck with my ability to use the money I actually make driving a truck. It took me 8 years to make money driving the truck. Okay, it's mindless what I do. So that little tidbits, a little bit hinting at a really big deal. Okay, understand what I'm trying to explain here. So this, and then it led up to some shit with Yendis, what happened in Sydney, Australia, Bondi Beach, had to do with Sydney, had to do with reverse Sydney. What does that mean? Whole other explanation of why it's a diss on America from Japan. A whole other explanation. And then it led up to this shit where I visited India, and then led up to a situation with Boise, Idaho to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, where then I finally got the passport and I moved to Australia. Before Nola, I tried to move to Australia. I just tried to go back drive truck 5 times. Landed in Boise after trying to go back drive truck 5 times, and that had to do with the Dune book, and it's a hottie, right? And then past all this stuff, past Nola and the Philippines and Philly, Bondi Beach, then to Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, then that part of the ritual. Okay, huge parts of the ritual. But this, I just want to explain this Nola Fresno thing, running into California like Rams. That was my $36,000 truck. It has to do with the Fresnola as an identity of ancient Egypt after Akhenaton, Ramses, and my identity as Hadda'S from Reno's identity, and then Memphis, Egypt, and the fact that it has to do with the Oklahoma thing, and Arkansas, the Anunnaki, the Archons, and then Memphis, and then Memphis, Egypt, because we are dealing with the Luciferian elites that own the planet, own the timeline, dealing with the alien intelligences. Okay, they own the planet, they own the timeline. Very, very detailed, very elaborate. I finally got into the truck where I can make money driving the truck. I haven't been able to even think about doing anything I'd actually be doing. It's using my trucking career. How you can use a person's trucking career to do all that. That's what I'm saying. It's wild. It's very concept of Anunnaki and Elohim and El. They see the El driving a truck. You know what I'm saying? And these forces can't be the people driving the truck and using some of the money they make driving a truck, left to their own vices, and they are better off. Second, they can make 23 grand driving a truck. They're better off than teachers, doctors, police officers, and you know it. Part of this system. They can go be authors, animators, musicians, no problem. Right? Something chose my trucking career to do all that, and my ability to use money. Just the thoughts of Mileto and money. Something can take the planet over. It's that simple. and I can't use money. Okay, it took me 8 years to make the money I just made driving a truck. I finally get another trucking job out of Orlando. All right, Florida, Caribbean, Florida, Ribada, right? Got a trucking job out of Orlando. Florida has a da in it, all right, as in Hadda, and then Ribada, ribs, as in the food item ribs, and then as in Caribbean. Finally made some money, okay? Nowhere close. I had 5 times the amount of money I made the first time I drove the truck. Nowhere close, okay? To being able to do anything yet. Presenting my information, the ritual that I deal with. I hadn't even had a chance to put any of this together at all. There's always something else for me to do with, okay? I'm just trying to explain that little part of the ritual there. That's huge, all right? Thanks for being present, for the talk.